Enduro and downhill tyres are tough, often thick, carcassed, heavy tyres of multiple densities of rubber and secret ingredients that manufacturers aren't going to really tell you about sometimes. They are tested to the extreme, and yet sometimes we still get punctures. How does this even happen? Well, today I'm going to put some Enduro tyres to the absolute test. I'm going to push them to their very limits. I am here at the SRAM test track in Malaga, strewn with monster boulders like this most of the way down, and I'm going to incrementally drop my tyre pressures just to see how much you can get away with these days. Just how hard can these tyres be pushed before a puncture may happen? Or God forbid, my poor wheel dies. Today's setup for this experiment then are my E13 29er wheels. They are LG1 ENs, aluminium. On those is Vittoria Mazza's Enduro casing tyre, 2.6 front and back, no inserts. I'm going to start off at 30 PSI and go down by 5s till I get to about 20, and then I think we might be in a bit of a danger zone. So we're going to reduce them ever so slightly less as we go then, but we'll see, because, well, I think we are going to be pushing some limits there. Just as a point of reference then, my go-to tyre pressures for a similar setup like this is 23 at the front and 25 at the rear. I know we're running the same pressures front and back. Grip really isn't the thing we're looking out for here. It's more just how tough these tyres are. How hard can they be pushed, which is why I'm keeping the pressures equal front and back. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. We got to be near 30 odd there. Okay, solid as a rock. 30 PSI, run numero uno. Let's have a whirl. See you in a mo. Here we go, first run, 30 PSI. All right, drop in. See how these firm tyres feel. Oh, front end nearly tucked then, because it's so flipping firm. There's not much grip there. The 30 PSI is so skittish. Oh my God, right. These firmer pressures are definitely sketchy on the loose ground. Draw off and in. Oh, there we go then. Right then, that was a run at 30 PSI. It's pretty interesting. Time to drop it down to 25. Oh. Beauty, mate.
First time every time.
First time on the 25 there, Strofe. So that should still be at 30. 29. There's 25 PSI. Let's do run 2. Right, we're back up. It's 25 PSI time. Yep. Starting to mould nicely around the rocks, look. Carrying more speed. I got a feeling that going down to 20 after this could be really good for grip, but high risk. Right, that was 25 PSI and getting around to where I run my own pressures, but we got to go lower. I get my breath back, we head up to the van, drop it at 20, see how that holds up. Oh, you'll have to wait and find out at the end. I feel like we're getting into, like I said, some danger territory here.
Have you ridden with 20 PSI before?
Yeah, I have, but not on, there we go, there's 20 PSI, not on trails this rocky. Pray for my rims. I know I will be. See how 20s handle Some gnarly rocks. Wish me luck. This is crazy. Let's drop it. Okay, here we go with the softer tyres. Hear that? No skidding around. The confidence in the grip is way better. Oh, 20 PSI, grip for weeks, skirting with a bit of death though. Woo. Oh my lord. Okay, I am getting some tings back there. I'm not sure if the GoPro's picking them up. Oh, there's definitely some tinging. I feel like that one was living life a little bit too close to the edge. There were some definite dingers going on. Anything dropping below this now is, well, it's asking for trouble. I'm not going to take another 5 PSI up because I think that is suicide for my poor old wheel set. So I'm going to drop it down a couple of PSI to 18 front and rear. And then we'll see how it goes. I'm hesitant. There she goes. Au revoir, front wheel. An ode to my wheel set. Ah, they were a good wheel set. They rolled so well. Now they're hitting rocks to hell. Another 2 PSI. Down. Gosh, 18 PSI. I think we might have found our limit, but let's find out. Here we go. Tram test track. Oh, you bugger. Oh, I've already gone the wrong way. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, Nicholas, I think we've found our limit. 18 is too soft. I had a puncture up there, which is why you've been waiting a while, but I have managed to plug it. She's leaking a bit, but there we go. 18 PSI is just too low on that bloomin' big old rock garden. It just went ting, psh. I was like, oh no, here we go. Stab, da 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 da. There you go though. I mean, that proves our point, 18 PSI. Boom. She ain't pretty. Nice. Nice.
21's not enough.
4 in there. Look at that. Look at the state of that. It's a lonely game, this. And finito. My goodness. We're done and back at the hotel then, and I've survived to tell the tale, as has my wheel set, thankfully. What can I take away from this? Well, Enduro tyres are flipping tough, that's for sure. But there is a reason that we are still getting punctures, and it's just the fact that we put them through so much abuse when you have them at an optimal PSI. Entirely based on rider feel, then the pressures are as follows. So at 30 PSI, the bike felt, well, like there was no worry of getting a puncture at all, but there was not really any worry of having any grip. The tyres were so firm that they weren't moulding to the ground, moulding to the rocks, or gripping in the turns, especially because it was such loose ground. The rocks didn't matter as much because they're dry. In the wet, crikey, you'd be all over the show, but it was just too firm really. So unless you're a heavier rider or you push your bike really hard, 30 is probably a bit too firm. 25, now we're getting towards the sweet spot, I think. It started to mold to the rocks a little bit more. The front end wasn't tucking and diving a bit too much because it wasn't bedding, like gripping in on the ground. So it was starting to feel good. When I dropped it to 20, well, this was getting a little bit too soft. You could start to hear the odd little ting and ding coming through because the pressures were running a little bit too low there. However, I think a fine balance between 20 to 25 is probably a sweet spot worth having a little play around with. And then we dropped it to 18, didn't we? And that is where, sadly, it stopped. 18 was just too soft a pressure for those big old gnarly rock guns, and it proved it by busting the tyre, sadly. We had to put some plugs in it, but that is part of the experiment. So 18, too soft. However, not necessarily always, because certain tracks may let you get away with that. If you are thinking of racing downhill or enduro, or the terrain around your way particularly is really rough and rocky, then you definitely want to go for an enduro or downhill style casing tyre. I think today if I'd gone down to a trail casing tyre, which I do use a lot of the time in the UK especially because you can get away with it, then I probably would have punctured a lot quicker. I certainly wouldn't have been able to drop my pressures as low. So something like that is definitely worth bearing in mind also when you are picking out what kind of tyres to go for. But that is worth experimenting on. Obviously maybe chucking an insert in as well. But anyway, how tough are enduro tyres? Flipping tough. We had to push them pretty hard to actually get a hole in them in the end. So that has been done anyway. It's been fun doing this one. I hope you guys have enjoyed it back home, but I'm out of it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy riding.